You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona, and I am joined today by Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Hey, Kirk, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you, Rachel?
I'm doing really great. I'm really excited about this week's episode topic that I have this week.
I'm excited too.
Ooh.
It's going to get a little wavy, but it should be good.
Oh, you said wavy? Fascinating.
Spoiler.
Can't wait. Oh,
You'll find out.
Oh, okay.
But I think you're going first this week. So
I am going first, so we're gonna get into it. You, me, and Victoria, we've all discussed this before. There are so many fascinating topics out there. And there's always more coming in via friends, patrons, people who just know we like weird things, our own little
people
rabbit
who
hole
write
discoveries.
us at contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com.
Yeah, that one. Exactly. You've got it, Kirk.
Yep.
And truly, while we have our lists that we keep all on our own, that help keep track of different topic ideas, even with that list, somehow, almost 3 years later, I have missed this particular topic. Okay?
Oh, okay.
It never made it on my list, which is wild to me. And I was thinking about what I wanted to cover this week. And I think part of it came to me because my friend sent me a Tumblr post and I was reading through it. And some of that particular Tumblr post actually did cover topics that we've covered on the podcast. By the way, if you are not already following us on Tumblr, please do. It's really fun. I have a great time running that Tumblr and I forget to tag things. So enjoy. Anyway.
Okay.
But it mentioned this particular species. We're gonna go with species.
Okay.
Yeah, species. And I went, how have we not covered that yet? Because it just feels so obvious, especially when I covered a little tiny portion of this, little tiny bit of this.
Being so mysterious, Rachel.
Thank you. That was the goal.
What are you talking about? What is your topic?
I covered a little bit of this, Kirk, way back in episode 2.
2?
Episode 2.
Okay. I don't remember episode 2. That was years ago.
That was years ago. It was when I covered the freshwater bryozoan.
Oh, yeah.
And now, 155 episodes later, we're diving back in with those weird little zoids. Do you remember what zoids are?
We're talking about bryozoans?
Sort of.
A little bit, but you're going to want to refresh the memory of everyone listening.
Oh, absolutely. Hence why I have the next little part of my notes say, review time.
Okay, tell us what zoids are.
So, a zoid...
So they're different than noids.
Absolutely. A zoid, Z-O-O-I-D, zoid, yes, I'm saying this correctly, is an individual bryozoan, which has an outer sleeve-like structure and a mass of organs. Okay? Like inside of it, in that sleeve-like structure. The sleeve-like structure, which is called a cystic, has an opening, and it allows the organs to slide to expose little tentacles to filter food. All right?
Cool. And these are teeny, microscopically tiny.
Yeah. So that is like a bryozoan zoid.
The zoid, but then the zoids all live...
They live as part of a colony. Right? Yeah. So it's a single animal that is a colony that works as a giant, like a much larger animal. Okay, a larger species.
Yeah, I think the way that I've often heard it described to people who have some familiarity with biology and whatnot is it's very much like coral.
Right. It's very similar, and it's in the same kind of family-ish as coral, because this particular species is in the Cnidaria phylum, which can include things like coral and sea anemones.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's in the same phylum as coral, but it's the same idea, right? It's a colonial animal making up this much larger
microscopic
organism.
Animals. Yep.
Well, somehow, even though I've covered freshwater bryozoan, and we know what a zooid is, this teeny tiny cellular critter that lives as part of a colony. How have we not talked about one of the largest colony species that have zooids? How have we not done that?
I don't know,
Kirk?
Rachel. How haven't we?
Well, we're going to.
What is it?
It's the Portuguese Man-O-War.
Oh my gosh, yes.
How have we not talked about this, Kirk?
I don't know. That's true. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Episode 157. We get to the Portuguese Man-O-War. Tell us all about it.
Oh, okay. So oftentimes a Portuguese man-of-war is thought of as a jellyfish, but they're not. They are.
When I first learned it, I'm like, oh, it's a jellyfish.
It's not. It is a colonial organism of these zooids, and it just happens to live in a marine environment. And
so cool.
My goodness. Okay, so it's called the Portuguese Man-O-War, partially because it has this big float, like a flotilla that tends to be near the surface that helps keep it on the top of the ocean. And it's
like
mostly
a gas sack, basically, right? That floats?
Pretty much, yeah. And most of the time, it's found in the Pacific Ocean. Also, when I was doing research, my partner asked, is your goal to make people scared of the ocean? And the answer is no.
Yeah, I know. I go to Hawaii sometimes, and I know they're found around there, and it gives me pause.
Right? My answer is no. And there's a reason why they should give you pause. So a little more description. Yeah. So they are this species that has all of these little zooids that are genetically identical, but they are fulfilling certain functions. They're all genetically identical, but their functions are split into 4 that are very specialized. One is more specialized in feeding. So they're in capturing prey. Okay.
Right.
Yep. One is feeding. So those are 2 separate things. One group of zooids, they capture prey, and they are active predators.
Capturing and feeding.
They are active predators too. Like they float around and everything, but they're trying to catch fish, which is wild.
Wow.
One section is
how big are the fish they're trying to catch?
I think anything that they can catch, truly. I'll get into it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they get pretty big, Kirk.
They get very big, yeah.
Yeah. So the other 2 that I want to touch on too is one is they're specialized is floating, so that big balloon section to help keep them propelled and everything, because they're propelled just by wind and the ocean currents. So they have to be able to float around easily and stay floating. And the other one is reproduction. So all of these little zooids are able to, they are all part of this larger colonial system to float around and be able to catch whatever they can. They are, the way you can tell that it is a Portuguese Man-O-War is it has this sail balloon-esque thing that looks very jellyfish-like. That is generally like blue or purple, and it rises above the water line up to like 6 inches. So it hangs out above the water, which jellyfish won't really do. And then underneath are long strands of tentacles and polyps. And those polyps generally are an average are of about 30 feet, but they have
Jeez.
found
thank
them.
you.
They have found them, Kirk.
They're going to be bigger, aren't they? Oh, God.
They found that they can extend up to 100 feet.
Oh, I don't want to know that, Rachel.
Which is a little less than like 20. What would they be, like 20 Rachels stacked up on top of one another?
Yeah.
Little less.
Oh my God.
That's too many.
Luckily, they're totally safe to touch and everything, right?
Absolutely not. No, you don't want to touch those.
No,
Because for a couple of reasons. So all of those tentacles, like I said, they are an active predator. They have this really strong stinging. They have these stinging cells of nematocysts, this venom that actually so within the tentacles, there are these little nematocysts, and they have little capsules in those nematocysts that if you brush against them, it shoots out and delivers venom, which for small fish and crustaceans will kill the fish and crustaceans. But if you, as a person, mayhaps touch one,
right,
you're going to have a painful
100-foot long
tentacles. You're going to have a painful few days. It's going to hurt.
Few days.
Like 3 days. And that's if you only touch like one, because oftentimes it creates like it can create like an allergic reaction. It's super, super painful. But and it's often, unfortunately for small kids, if it goes around like the trunk of the body at all, the venom can actually help start to close airways, which is where it can create a lot of, breathing problems. And if you get stung a lot, it can kill people, actually. It's very rare, but their venom is strong enough to kill people.
Stick into the pool. My God.
Sorry, Kirk. And
really something.
I mean, unfortunately, too, like where you find one of the Man-O-War, you're gonna find more. Because
they all just get blown into the same area.
Generally speaking, sometimes they can be found in groups of like 1,000 Man-O-Wars or more, just floating in the ocean.
1,000?
1,000.
Rachel, don't tell me that.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my God, 1,000?
1,000. And like
that is a flotilla. Oh my God.
That is a flotilla. Also, they're mostly see-through, like they're purpley blue for the most part, but the ocean is also kind of blue. So they're really hard to see in the ocean as you're swimming around.
Do not like this. I don't like this, Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, I never said you were going to like it, Kirk. I just said that it was really fascinating and fun.
It is fascinating. Yeah, I know, I know a little bit about them, and every time I read more about them, I'm just like, what is this thing that, you just assume it's a jellyfish, and you're like, but it's not. It's this other thing, and it can like kill you, and it like has these tentacle things, and it's just like, and they're so weird, and they're so cool.
It's so wild. And like that balloon
Nature
that
finds
floats
a way.
it absolutely does. That balloon that allows them to float around, that's filled with carbon monoxide and just regular air.
Carbon monoxide?
Monoxide. There it is. Just silence of just like, why not? Sure. And like
I'm full of the silent but deadly killer.
Pretty much. Well, yeah. And they can deflate it in order to
else,
oh my gosh. They can deflate it in order to like protect themselves from any sort of predator, but for the most part, because they're floating along with this sail, they can float and be dragged around for thousands of miles trying to catch whatever they can and eat. It's just wild.
It's something.
Yeah. And I said that they were mostly found in the Pacific, but truly they can be found pretty much in all of the world's oceans, mostly the tropical, subtropical oceans, but sometimes they can be found in the temperate regions as well. So that's fun. It's a good time.
Indeed.
I just wanted to talk about this absolutely wild creature that somehow we hadn't
didn't get around to.
157 episodes in, we're still finding things like, how have we not talked about it? There's always so many things to talk about. It's absolutely wild.
Let's take a short break, go for a swim.
Yeah.
And when we come back,
all right.
I got something else.
Good. Excellent. Because I'll follow you into the water, Kirk. You're going first. I'm not going in.
Well, we've got a bit of a theme this week, Rachel. You're about to find out.
Oh,
see you in a minute. You know, as podcasters, we like to listen to podcasts too, and I want to tell you about one this week called Tiny Matters. It's a science podcast about things small in size, a molecule, microscopic organisms, or maybe an ancient gene that all have a big impact on our world. Tiny Matters is produced by the American Chemical Society and hosted by former scientists Sam Jones and Deboki Chakravarti, who chat with experts to track down answers to questions like, how does our brain form memories? Is sugar actually addictive? And are we alone in the universe? And Sam and Deboki know that science doesn't operate in a vacuum, so every Tiny Matters episode is packed with history, as well as societal relevance and impact. A new episode of Tiny Matters drops every other Wednesday. Find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey everybody, we're back. Rachel, you're going to see what the thread is between these. When I was 14 years old, I had the opportunity to go on a fabulous journey. It was a family trip. Our family flew to Norway to visit relatives, and that was just magical. We got to go out on the ocean and go on a whale safari, looking at whales and stuff. It was a very, very cool experience. Once that was over, we headed by train to Denmark. Mm-hmm. From there, we got on another train that then actually drove straight onto a boat, which I remember thinking was pretty cool, that the train just goes onto the boat, and then they kind of park all the cars side by side in this boat, and the boat becomes a ferry. And so this boat was going to take us through the North Sea to England. And what should have been a pretty standard and uneventful crossing turned out to be one of the most memorable events of my young life.
Okay.
So as we headed out of harbor, we noticed the seas were a little rough. And as the overnight trip continued, things just got worse and worse. The ship began to rhythmically rock up and down each wave, and the waves got bigger and bigger as the night wore on. There was a restaurant on this boat that we went to, or this ship.
Right.
And at one point, the waves were so bad that food was flying off tables.
Right.
Waiters were trying to carry trays to the restaurant, and they were you'd hit a wave and food would go flying off their trays, and they had to basically stop serving food because they were spilling it all on the floor.
That sounds like the worst day to be in waitstaff. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it got pretty bad. We actually my parents were pretty savvy, and they had actually booked a sleeping room because since they had kids with them and stuff. Mm-hmm. But you really couldn't sleep because you'd just be thrown from the bed. They made an announcement that they were placing literal bowls of Dramamine packets all around the ship. And they said, everybody, please take some of this Dramamine. You're going to want it. Passengers started to throw up around the ship from seasickness. Uh-huh. And as a 14-year-old child, I gotta say, I was pretty unaware of the danger. My brother is about a year and a half older than I am. We thought this was like some kind of hilarious ride. These waves were getting very, very large. And we found this relatively abandoned hallway toward the front of the ship, kind of lower down. And we found that as we felt the ship tilting toward the sky, we would start sprinting down the hallway. And just as the ship crested the wave, we would time it so that we would jump forward right as the ship began to fall. And as we leapt into the air, we would have this like seemingly gravity-free free fall. And we found that we could achieve near Olympic level long jump records down the hallway. Because it was like someone picked you up and threw you down the hallway where you were weightless for the entire time the ship was falling. And then
that
you
sounds
would,
like the
land.
best time.
It was, we were laughing. It was hilarious. The fun of it was only slightly tempered when the ship would heavily crash back into the water at the bottom of the wave. And likewise, our bodies would crash into the deck of the ship, seemed to now weigh twice as much as they did before. We'd skin our knees off, but it was fun for a little while. And when we tired of that, we went to the outside hallway of the ship, and we were maybe like 5 stories up or so. And we would watch as the waves were breaking above the tops of the windows.
Oh.
So as the boat was cutting through the waves, you would literally be having like a cross-sectional view of the wave, like going past the side of the ship, because that's how they were, like, literally like 5 stories up. It was a heck of a night.
Oh, yeah.
My brother and I thought it was thrilling. My parents worried we would end up dead at the bottom of the North Sea. They later shared with me that they overheard the crew talking to each other, something that they weren't supposed to hear. And the crew was like, saying that they never should have let the boat out of harbor because the storm was so bad.
Oh, no.
Turns out this storm was so bad, the ship was running full speed all night, and we only made 2 miles of progress on our trip. So when we finally, the storm started to pass a bit, we were able to get through it. We still had the whole overnight trip to do, but now it was daytime. There was no food on the ship because they had served it all or dropped it all
over the floor. Oh,
yeah. So it was, they're basically trying to stop the
God.
ship from being blown backwards off course and being scuttled by the waves. So there was, the North Sea is no joke, right?
No.
So that's my personal experience. That waves are no joke. And bad storms can create waves that can overwhelm a ship. Up where you live on Lake Superior, there's the most famous ship of all is the Edmund Fitzgerald. And the whole story. Yeah, Gordon Lightfoot's got his whole song about that. So like
we play it at least once a week.
Ships do once a week. Wow,
it's part of a class.
Ships do go down in storms.
Mm-hmm.
So, those who work the seas, right, have long told us something scarier than just the repeated pounding of waves of a storm. Mariners have long held stories about giant rogue waves that come out of nowhere and just swallow ships whole. And many thought that these were mere legends, like the Kraken or mermaids or sirens. But for many people, that sort of changed on Christmas Eve, 1995.
Oh, no.
So there was a storm in the North Sea with hurricane force winds. 1995, this would not have been when I was 14.
I was alive. We're good.
And this was, there were people who were on the Dropner oil rig, and they had they had like a laser pointed down from the top of the rig at the waves, and it would automatically record wave heights. The waves during this storm were 12 meters high. So that's over 39 feet in freedom units, or 7.4 Rachels. Okay, these are pretty big waves.
Yeah.
Now everyone was safe inside the rig building, but they had kind of battened down the hatches, riding out what's essentially a hurricane. But at 3:20 p.m., something extraordinary happened, although no one saw it. Those lasers that were pointing down at the waves, they can record wave heights to within an inch. And they recorded a lone wave with a height of 25.6 meters.
What?
That's 84 feet. And, it had a peak elevation then of 18.5 meters or 61 feet. And I will say this wasn't the first scientific measurement of a rogue wave. There had been a recording of a smaller one back in 1984, but this was the first enormous one recorded. And it's the one that really got the science world's attention, where they're just like, why was there this one wave? Like, what happened? So I got to back up a little bit. What is called a rogue wave is defined scientifically as a wave whose height is more than twice what's called the current significant wave height. What that is gets a little technical, but basically the layman's definition is to think of it as being a wave that is about twice as high as the normal height of the waves at that time. Okay. And some of them obviously can be much more than twice the height. And looking back through history, there's definitely been evidence, although not direct measurements, of rogue waves that are as tall as 30 meters. These were surmised by things like damage to lighthouses. There's some lighthouses that got damaged and the whole crew had been wiped away. And there was damage on the lighthouse up 30 meters above, the wave height. And they're going, how could something this big have come by? The waves can't get up 30 meters on a lighthouse, but they had. So they're like, okay. And so it is really something. Also the RSS Discovery, which is a ship that was sailing through the Rockall Trough west of Scotland in the year 2000. That is a ship that encountered the largest waves that have ever been recorded by any scientific instruments. And it terrifies me that these recorded not by an oil platform, but by a boat that was in the waves.
Oh, God.
This boat recorded waves that were pretty much close to 30 meters tall, like I had said with the ones that they had surmised. They recorded individual waves up to 29.1 meters, which, if you're not great with metric system, that's 95 foot high waves. That is terrifyingly tall.
No.
A 95 foot tall wave. And these often happen in bad weather, right? So the waves are already bad, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, these 12 meter waves are really something. And all of a sudden here comes a 95 foot wave, 30 meters. And they think that this is probably responsible for a lot of ships that have been swamped and never heard from again. We're like, something happened. What happened? Was just a regular series of smaller waves? And no, if they get hit by a rogue wave, ships are not built to survive this.
No.
So if you get hit by one of them,
you get hit by a 95 foot wave. If I even saw that coming, tsunamis, this isn't even a tsunami. That's what's getting me. This is not even
so these can sometimes be confused with tsunamis. So tsunamis, I think when I was a kid, I pictured a tsunami as being this giant wave that, like that giant 95 foot wave coming in and crashing on the shore.
Right.
There's that really famous Japanese woodcut of the big wave as well. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's blue and white.
Yeah.
It's thought that actually that is probably representing a rogue wave instead of a tsunami.
This feels scarier.
Now that we live in the age... Yeah, now that we live in the age of video, I remember when there's been some of these big tsunamis lately that have been recorded, and you watch it and you go, oh, that's what a tsunami is? It's basically the ocean just starts to rise and it just keeps rising, like a flood that comes in. Then it's not really one big giant wave that just comes in and crashes, hundreds of feet in. It's just an inundation of water that just comes out of the ocean. And rogue waves, they've been trying to study them to figure out, well, what's causing them? Is it like a tsunami where an earthquake causes this? And it's not. They are still being studied. There's many different theories on why and how they form. In layman's terms, though, the most basic idea is that they form when large waves meet at maybe just the right angle and combine their energy into one large wave. So imagine two large waves coming right at like 90-degree angle, and the peaks hit each other at the exact same time, and it sort of whoosh, like, wow, I smacked the microphone, it goes shooting up into this big wave, which could be almost more like maybe a pyramid like wave that appears and then sinks back down, rather than like a rolling wave that, is going for long distances at that height.
But
so
it's
it could be
still
sort of just
terrifying.
Yeah, it's fascinating. These have actually, they used to be myth and legend, and now they've been verified. And people have actually now used satellites to look for rogue waves in data, and have confirmed that they're way more common than we used to think. They have been found
I hate that.
in every ocean, and have been shown to occur pretty much every day somewhere on Earth. There are these rogue waves.
I hate
often
that.
associated with storms, but weirdly not always associated with storms. So just absolutely bizarre. Scientists are studying these strange phenomena now that we kind of know what to look like, and we really want to understand them more, because it could be the key to keeping both people and property safe, right?
Right.
So super cool rogue waves. I guess check them out, but don't check them out that closely. I never want to be that close to a rogue wave.
Please don't.
No. Like, I know that oil rig I mentioned at the beginning did actually suffer some minor damage, because I think they were only rated to waves like 20 meters tall, and this was like, a little bit above that. So pretty nuts. Rogue waves, that's what I got for you. It's fun that we both had something from the ocean to make people terrified of the seas, Rachel. My sources this week were primarily The Future of Things, NOAA, and Wikipedia.
Oh. Thanks, Kirk.
Super cool. You're welcome.
We're just going to scare our listeners, everybody.
Everybody get out, grab your surfboard.
Have fun.
Surf's up. Get out there. And we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.